earlier this week, I had a chance to sit down and have a one-on-one interview with comedian Dana Goldberg. And we've got that interview prepared for you guys. So sit tight and enjoy this next segment. This morning, we have the wonderful opportunity to speak with comedian, activist, voice of the voiceless, and my good friend and colleague in the progressive fight, Dana Goldberg. Good morning, Dana, and welcome to Choose Views.
Oh, good morning, my dear friend. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to say thanks for being on the show this morning and taking some time out of what's crazy for you right now, and start off by saying that we here in Chicago and my listeners throughout the country are sending you and so many others in Southern California, all the good vibes and the support that we can. We know that you guys are right face forward in dealing with this, and just want to let you know that we are sending out as much care and concern as we can and want everybody to be safe. So thank you for being on the show this morning.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been obviously everyone's been watching this on the news if they don't live in the area, and it is as apocalyptic and horrifying as it is appearing. But I hope that if you are listening to this, if you can take some time away from the mainstream media, as we call it, and these, stories about all the celebrities, and that's what they seem to focus on, and, the wealthier parts, and really try and find some local news stations talking about how Altadena has historically been, a predominantly black community, and how there's people in the Palisades that have had a very small house in this area, and they've lived there for 50, 60 years, and how they had to evacuate, old age homes and assisted living in the middle of the night, and these heroic stories. So I hope that, this trauma porn that everyone's seeing across the country, that they can really focus on some local news articles and stories and really see the humanity of what's happening and the people coming together, and not necessarily listen to the echo chamber on the right talking about, ridiculous theories about wokeism and gay people causing fires and that there's no water and, budgets being cut. Please just do some research before you share things like that, because it causes harm to the communities who are doing everything they can.
Without a doubt. And that's one of the things that I've been focusing on Monday. On my show on Monday, I talked about the agencies that folks across the country can contribute to as a means of tangible help. It's one thing to send, the proverbial thoughts and prayers, and we mean it when we say sending out the good vibes and the support, but also
Absolutely.
There's some tangible things that people can do. I started with the American Red Cross, and then a laundry list of other local specific groups that are there in Southern California that are right there, ready to help the firefighters, ready to help the people who are volunteering that are getting tired, the various faith-based groups that are there to help anybody and everybody that needs the support. So it's always the phrase that, the people who are dealing with the stress are one group, but also the people who are there to care for those that are stressed are the ones that we have to look out for as well. So thank you for reminding people to kind of step away from the tragedy porn that's out there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you for asking, and thanks for keeping us in your prayers. It really is. If that's all you can do right now is send good energy to California, it's something. So thank you to everyone listening who is worried about what's going on in Los Angeles.
Absolutely. So many people hear your name, comedian Dana Goldberg, on the various shows and different things that you're on, but they really don't know about your career, and they really don't know about your ascent from to where you are today. And a lot of people, they hear you on Stephanie, they hear you on various shows, but they don't know about your background, and they don't know about your comedic story. And I just wanted to take a few minutes and kind of let people know and give people a little bit of a peek into that window, and what started you in comedy? What made you say, "Oh, I can make more people laugh than just the family in the living room"?
Well, it started with the family in the living room. I was raised by a single parent, my mother, who is a phenomenal woman in a 3-child household. Two out of 3 of us are gay, so it was either psychotherapy for the rest of my life or stand-up comedy. And I think I'd probably do my psychotherapy on stage with a lovely audience. Always been a funny kid. My kindergarten teacher told my mother I was the funniest 5-year-old she'd ever met. I'm not sure, honestly, Richard, what that means or who my competition was, but I was killing it when I was 5, like just killing it. I think I use humor in my life, like so many of us do, to cope through hard situations. And some of us take that into a career, and others of us just use it to get through the days or make people laugh. But I think this was in the cards for me. I auditioned for my high school talent show when I was 17, and I did a 10-minute stand-up routine, and I won, which was the first time that I was like, oh, I could actually do this. For those of you that know me, you know that I'm very active in the LGBTQ community because I'm the L in the LGBTQ community. And when we put the tape in, it was digitized, Richard, and I am wearing a pair of jeans, a button-down, and a tie, and I look like Paula Poundstone, and I'm telling jokes about my ex-boyfriends and why it's not working out so well. And I'm like, maybe it wasn't working out so well because it's my button-down and my tie collection. But, that was my first time on stage. And then I spent some time at the University of New Mexico, where I was born and raised in Albuquerque. And I got my degree in physical education because, like I said, I'm a lesbian and it's the law. And then when I was 26, I went back and I auditioned for a show in Albuquerque called Funny Lesbians for a Change, and it raised higher education scholarships in the community for women. And they gave me a stand-up set. I had a 7-minute set in front of 650 people in a sold-out theater in Albuquerque. And honestly, I hit my first big joke, and I felt like I could fly, and the rest is history.
That's phenomenal. So, a lot of people don't know that about you. A lot of people hear, see, love you. They come to your shows all over the country. Was there an influence? I know you mentioned Paula Poundstone in terms of how your outfit looked, but what comedic influences did you have you had? And I know that that's probably changed over the years.
Absolutely. Back in the day when I realized that I was listening to tapes of old comic relief, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Whoopi Goldberg, and I didn't realize that I was probably studying and learning and absorbing everything. I had tapes of Stephen Wright that I would listen to, literally tapes in a tape player. For those of you that don't know what that is, I'm sure most people listening, but we've got some younger listeners out there that are like, I don't even understand what she's saying. You used to put a tape in a player, and you wouldn't hit play and what was it? Play and record. Yeah, you didn't want to hit two buttons at the same time. You'd actually record over your tape.
You would erase it and go, oh, my God, what did I do?
Absolutely.
And of course, there was no such thing as having it backed up where you could go, okay, it's no big deal. I erased it, but, I still have another one in the cloud.
It was gone.
That didn't exist.
It was absolutely gone. Yeah, it was absolutely gone. Your Boys to Men tape, never again. You'll never hear it again. Those were the influences when I was younger, and they have changed over the years. Now, honestly, my influences are my colleagues. I sit and, listen to and watch Fortune Feimster and Jessica Kirson and, Aaron Foley and these people that I share stages with around the country, and I learn from watching them even still. So they're my influences now. But back in the day, I would say Robin. When I used to do interviews for newspapers or magazines, and they would say, who's your favorite comic or your influence, it was Robin. And when Robin died, it felt like we lost a family member. I remember crying like I had lost someone that I was related to. He was a brilliant man with a brilliant mind, and I know he's still missed by a tremendous amount of this country and probably abroad.
Most definitely. I remember Robin well from maybe a different perspective, not being a comedian or, as you so well put, you were studying. I remember watching Mork and Mindy with my mother and seeing my mother with her feet on her little ottoman stool, just crying, laughing at his physical comedy and his moving around the set. Of course, when they, obviously while the show was on the air. And my mother loved Robin Williams because she used to say to me, he's not afraid to do a damn thing. And that sent a message to me first about my mom loving comedy and humor, because she was an old school tough gal. But it's interesting, the influences that they move with the time and move with what we do, and you clearly have had a number of them in your career. Speaking of the career, not a lot of people know about the work that you do with the Human Rights Campaign. And I've been so fortunate to attend a couple of events that you've done here in Chicago. And for those who are listening, I will tell you, get yourself ready for the November 2025 event that's going to be here, barring any changes, because it is a phenomenal fundraising event. It's a phenomenal group of people. But Dana, talk about how you got involved, what it means to you, and why you're such an advocate for the Human Rights Campaign.
Absolutely. In 2009, I had been headlining comedy events all over the country, some for the Human Rights Campaign. I was headlining with some old-school comics, Jim David and Alec Mapa. That what happened was a live auctioneer fell out of one of their galas. So oftentimes at these galas, if you've ever been to one, they have a really, hopefully fun, lively live auction. Sometimes it's not so fun and lively. And so when the auctioneer couldn't show up, they called me and said, "Do you know how to do this?" And I said, "Let's find out." And apparently it is some latent gift in me that I'm really damn good at money raising. So I now have figured out this really lovely equation where I go, and my brand is a comedian. That's who I am as a professional. And so I go and I do about 7 minutes of stand-up, and then I go right into the money raising. And we found out with these organizations that when people are happy and they're engaged and they believe in the fight, we're all there for the same reason, they open up their wallets. And they seem to, I've had people come up to me and say, "I almost gave you my child's college tuition. You are damn good at your job." And so that was in 2009. And since then, I do several galas, probably around 20 with the Human Rights Campaign, but I work with Lambda Legal, which is the nation's leading legal LGBTQ organization right now. They're fighting a lot of these unconstitutional bans, hurting our trans community and our LGBTQ community. I also work with Planned Parenthood. I know that's very important to a lot of the listeners, abortion access. I also work with what I call mainstream, straight organizations because they need my help too. But there's an organization down in Florida called the Child Rescue Coalition, and they catch child predators on the dark web. And it's interesting because that's a room full of police officers and FBI and, not just necessarily, my normal crowd where sometimes I feel like I'm in an echo chamber of liberalism. These are, conservative people, a lot of straight men and a lot of law enforcement, and they love me. When I can find the way I can make people laugh, Richard, is if they can see themselves somewhere in my material and I can bridge the humanity between the two of us, I can make anybody laugh if they are open to it. So a lot of these organizations, as long as it's near and dear to my heart and they need some help, I will agree to go down and work with them, raise some money. And so over the last 15 years of my career, aside from all of the stand-up and the traveling and the theaters, I've raised over $60 million for the LGBTQ community and for abortion access, reproductive rights, and HIV education and prevention, protecting these kids on the dark web. So I'm really proud of my career and what I've done, where it's led me. With that, I have a gift, and I've been able to actually use it to do some good. And that makes me feel like I'm giving back to the communities that support me.
Well, and just for you guys that are listening, that was a 6-0 in terms of the millions that she's helped raise. And the way in which the reason that that's important is it's incremental, dollar by dollar, person by person, group by group. And if you ever ask, if you guys listening anywhere in the country ever ask yourself, how can I get involved and how can I help? Sometimes it's something that's right inside of you that you may not even know about, but it's always from a perspective of giving. And if in many cases it's giving your time. So, kudos to you, Dana, and in that space. And thanks for kind of breaking that down, because a lot of people don't know about, they know of you as a comedian, which is great, and it's your bread and butter, it's your baseline. But using your comedy and your comedy chops to, as you said, make anybody laugh if they're open, that's a skill, that's a talent. And I think the universe will probably say to you, you got the message, you got the assignment. Take those gifts, turn them around, and use them for the greater good. And you've certainly done that. That's got to be fascinating to be in a room full of cops. But,
it is. But,
the stuff that they see,
The thing is, yep. But the thing is, Richard, and you know this from, being part of different marginalized communities, people want to see behind the curtain. And so, if I'm up there, this lesbian, that breaks some of their stereotypes. Everyone has this idea of, not everyone, some people have an idea of what a lesbian looks like, the flannel and the boots and the cargo pants. And, it's ridiculous to think that that is what every lesbian out there looks like. So when you've got someone in front of them, for better or worse, that they don't necessarily pigeonhole in the community that they've always envisioned, and then I get to make them laugh. I give people permission to laugh at things that they may feel judged for laughing at in other communities, in other situations, if you know what I mean. And I think that's a really good way to bond people together, to say, we're not all so offended by this stuff. I almost forgot what I was doing. I'm not sure about the rules on your radio station.
Well, that's the beauty of a pre-record, because we could have edited it out. Just
I caught it.
I felt the SH welling up in your mouth, so that's okay.
Yeah, it was one of those.
Almost accidental moments. Yeah. But the greater point that you're making. It was one of those
Kamala Harris moments in the debate. Remember the debate when Kamala Harris?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
Whatever it was. Yeah. It was one of those moments. But
you remember it well, don't you? Wasn't that just a charming moment?
Oh, I'm so mad at this country sometimes. What we could have had right now. And, I think about... And, I think about this horrible situation in Los Angeles, and literally a city burning. And then I saw, an article that was like, we're strong enough to get through this. And when we come back as a community, we're all helping each other. We're going to build back stronger than ever. And my only hope is that right now, as this country, theoretically proverbially burns down, as we watch this new administration come in, that we can come together, and the good people in this country, who there are more of us than there are of them, can actually rebuild better. I joke and laugh because there's one part of me that believes all that, and the other part of me is like, if we ever have another free and fair election, so I go on both sides of it, of like, I'm really hoping there's a better, brighter future, but I also know that we all have to dig in right now to get there.
Well, and I'm going to come back to that in a moment, but I do want to sort of reflect on what you just said about the two sides. So two thoughts. I feel that often. I stay optimistic every day, and on my show every day, the folks who are listening can tell you, I come from a position of optimism and forward, and how do we make this right and better and right, knowing that we're kind of running with a parachute on us because of the drag, literally, of the GOP. And that makes us have to look at this with a realistic set of glasses on, and at the same time recognize that we have no option, we have no choice other than to fight with all that we have. And the phrase from the Black Panther fighters is to come out fighting. We have to come out fighting every day right now, and I think that with that responsibility comes a certain amount of optimism, of knowing that when we fight, we do win, and that's why I'm optimistic like you are in this space. So,
absolutely.
Dana's been successful in a couple other venues in her life, and one of them that I'd like you to chat about is your work with Olivia Travel. It's a special, unique group of folks that you also get to entertain and make laugh. Tell the audience a little bit about what you've done and how long you've been involved with Olivia Travel.
Absolutely. Olivia Travel is the country's longest. It started off as a women's, I don't know if you know this, but a women's record label. A woman named Judy DeLugat and her partner Rachel at the time, they started a record label for lesbians and women that were underrepresented in the music community. And this is like Chris Williamson and, a lot of, for those of you listening, a lot of like folk singers back in the day. And about, I think 15 years into that record label, some of the community was like, we want to travel. And so they chartered their first ship, and the thing sold out in like a day or something ridiculous. So long and short, over the last 35 years, they're in the 35th year of travel, they have built what had predominantly just been very lesbian-centric women's travel, and it gave the women a place to be safe. I think people have this misunderstanding that, well, we have marriage equality now, and, so people are allowed to just be out and about, and they're sure. I mean, we're allowed to walk around the streets out and about, but it's not always safe. And in 26 states, I believe, people can still get fired for getting married on Saturday and putting a picture of their wife up in their office and get fired on Monday. The protections are not there. And so Olivia Travel created this safe environment for lesbians to be able to go hold hands in a safe environment. They charter an entire ship. Sometimes they work with Holland America, other ships, and they have different facets of this travel. So they've got their larger ships. They're about 2,500 to 3,000 people. They've got midships. They're about 3 to 7. And then they have river boats that are about 125. And they also have resorts. So they'll take over an entire resort in Mexico or the Caribbean or some different locations. And it's this special community that has been built over the last 50 years of musicians and comedians and people traveling and making best friends and finding their life partners. And so about 3 or 4 times a year, I've been with them since 2006. They bring in their own entertainment, so we'll get to go in and we have this really lovely bonding experience with women that have been together for 50 years or, lesbians that have just met and they're on their first vacation. They're young lesbians, 25. They've been saving up or they're going to pay this off and they just want to have this experience. But, like I said, I don't always want to be in an echo chamber, but there's something to be said about being in an environment where you feel 100% safe to be authentically who you are. And one of the things that I love about this company is that they're also evolving with the times. Now they call themselves the company for LGBTQ plus women to travel. So we have lesbians that some of their partners have transitioned and they identify now as trans men, and they're still welcome on these trips and they feel protected and safe. And we have trans women traveling with us that feel welcome and protected and safe and part of this community. And so it just feels really lovely. I've been able to see a lot of the world because I have a gift of making people laugh. But at the same time, I've built lifelong friendships with women that I have seen them get married. I have seen partners pass away, illnesses that we've supported each other through cancers and other things. And it's these bonds that we have as women, supporting women, entertaining women and entertaining by women. It just is something incredibly special. And so if there is anyone out there listening and you've thought about going on one of these trips, and I'm not doing an ad for it, Richard and I never spoke about this, but definitely give it a shot. And you don't have to be gay to be on these trips. A lot of people travel with their sisters, or a lesbian couple has lost a partner, and so they bring their best friend who is straight. It's just a really lovely way to travel, especially if you don't always feel safe amongst listen, I love you, Richard, but some people don't always feel safe amongst the straight men right now, or they don't always have the best experiences. And so if you are someone out there that's like, I want to go travel with my girlfriend, book a group of you, go travel, have the time of your life. You're not going to get worried about hitting on by men. You can just be out there in your swimsuits, living it up, body positivity, and just go have a good time.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm not always safe around straight men either. So as a straight dude, I can tell you that I draw the line very quickly. I've got my litmus test is for a guy is if I can't trust you with my wife when I'm not around, then you're not going to be friends. And so I have a very, I guess you could say, strong code, and that's why my friend groups are diverse in terms of men, women, straight, married, single, the whole, because it forces me to be better, and that's just kind of my own code. I got to come back to something that you said that is it's a denotation or description about, in the quote-unquote echo chamber or a silo or a similar group, but the power that comes out of that. And I'll tell you what it mimics in many ways, in a positive way, a very positive way. And that's what so many African-American folks will tell you about attending an HBCU. And that is you don't have to apologize for being who you naturally are and living your natural self. And I see a nexus there between that kind of energy that you get from being on an Olivia travel cruise and in some ways being attending an HBCU. Any black person that I know, family, friends, business colleagues will tell you, and I know you've had your experiences as well because of the diversity of your friendship base, that attending an HBCU has a similar effect, unapologetically. So that's great.
Yeah. You'd agree with this. Like, as we go into this new era, and I know we'll pop around the conversation, the intersectionality between communities coming together, that's how we're going to get past this. A lot of the times, unfortunately, I've seen in the gay community, especially black men, you're either black or you're gay, but you're not both. Like, you're either accepted in one group or the other, but the crossover isn't always there, and we have to change that. We really do have to reach over and say, all right, we're all in this marginalized situation. We're all on their list. How do we support each other? Reach across and say, I've got you. Because I will tell you, and I know people hear this, if you're only fighting for people in communities you belong to, you're not doing it right. If you're only supporting people that you can completely identify with, and I think about this especially with the trans community. Everyone, it's bizarre how much hate I get for just speaking out for my trans friends. Oh, okay, sir, or you must be trans, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, if you're only fighting for communities that you belong to, you're not doing it right. If I'm taking this much heat for just supporting my trans friends, can you even imagine how much heat they're taking for being trans?
That's so.
If I'm getting this much heat for supporting my black community, can you imagine how much heat the black community is taking for just being black?
Well, and here's the commonality of that. I mean, your ethnicity, your gender, your what else? How else do I want to put this? Your career choice. All these things sort of mixed together makes this great gumbo of who Dana Goldberg is. But it also is a reflection of who it is you support. You don't just support one part of the LGBTQ community because you are a part of it. You support the entire stretch. But that also means because you recognize the other groups that are marginalized, and you said, African American men as an example, or other men of different ethnicities of color. It's about making sure that all people, to your point, if communities are coming together, and that's going to be our superpower, then this is how we're going to win. It starts there. It starts with us being willing, I think, Dana, to put down the things that don't make us perfect, even within our own community, and saying, you know what, I may not be down with XYZ from that community, but they're being impacted by what this quote-unquote majority-minority is putting on them. So I got to step in for them. And I was asked a question once by a friend. They said, you open the door for everybody. And I said, and they said, yeah, like most guys open the door for women. I said, well, why would I not open the door for a kid or for an older man or for a younger man or anybody? Because, the door needed to be open. And so that's my way of stating what you just said about, you're doing it the wrong way if you're only helping one community or the one that you're a part of. Time is always important to us in this business, but we've got a lot of time. I just want to ask you a couple more questions because people don't know about.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm enjoying this. I have nowhere to be right now.
Cool. Daily Beans, that's where your activist, other part of your activist side comes out. Folks know a little bit about it, but, I mean, I've had Allison on. We did an interview with her a few weeks back, and she was great as always. Had a chance to first time meet her at the convention. And I just want to say this, and then I know you have comments, so we'll come back. Talk about Daily Beans, but wasn't the convention just an appropriately and well-needed love fest for those of us who were fighting so damn hard to make a change?
Oh, my God. I mean, I still hold those moments in my chest, like being inside that arena and seeing the American flag fly and people singing those songs about patriotism that had been taken from us because they have so the other side. And I hate to say the other side because when I say that, I'm very specific about this Trump cult. I'm not even talking about Republicans in general because those are different people now. And in my opinion, and I think people would agree, it's not Democrats and Republicans anymore. Like there's a Trump cult out there that are very different people. So when I say conservatives, I don't necessarily mean the Trumpers. I'll be very specific about that. So I feel like that cult had made it sound like if you don't fly the American flag, even though they decided to attack the Capitol and beat our police officers, with an American flag attached to a flagpole, and then tell someone else, you're not a patriot if you don't fly the American flag. The hypocrisy, it was maddening. And so when I talk about this, I mean, I want people to hear that. But being in the DNC and watching the flags fly and us singing America the Beautiful and really feeling the joy and love for our country that was taken from us, not because we lost it. We were told it wasn't part of us. If we believe in equity, if we believe in equality, if we believe that racism is wrong and black boys should not be getting shot in the streets by police officers, and that gay people should be able to get married and trans kids should be able to have access to gender-affirming care if their parents and they and their doctor have agreed that it is the best thing for them. Like being in a room for like an arena. And I was thinking about, I mean, it filled my chest. And I really hope that the people realize now, and I know you would agree with this, I love I love Michelle Obama from 2016. When they go low, we go high. I love even more the Michelle Obama from 2024 at the DNC of I'm going to burn this place down. Yep. Like that's what we're at that point now. We tried to be nice. We tried to follow customs and traditions and rules. And I'm at the point now, Richard, and I don't know how you agree, if it's not illegal, do it. If it doesn't break the Constitution, do it. They're not following rules and norms anymore. We have got to learn how to fight better.
Spirituality, irrespective of which one ascends to or is raised in, will tell you that if you let the void be there, it will be filled with something that you don't want. And I'm not quoting directly from Scripture, but in the sense that we have to be willing to step into that void and fight. And I say this often on my show, Dana. You got to we forget this. Bring a knife, bring a gun to a gun. No, bring a sledgehammer. And the sledgehammer is in our thoughts, in our ideas, and our ability to fight until the end. And that's what right now. I love the way you phrase it. If it's legal, or as long as it's not illegal, then we should be doing it, and we should be fighting on all fronts. And I'm hoping and praying that the people who were able to attend and witness by television or whatever the convention recognize that, to your point, we are Americans too. We get to fight for it and believe in it and all that, just like anybody else that may not look like us or believe like us or love like us. And that there's no more of us sitting back, sitting on our hands. We have to be, as my father used to say, we have to have our dukes up all the time. And that's one of the things that was a takeaway for me from the convention. Talk to us a little bit about Daily Beans. How did this all come about for you and your work with Allison Gill?
No, it's interesting. During the pandemic, obviously, when that hit, all of the entertainers, the comedians, anyone who's doing any sort of live production, it got stripped away from us. And I'm sitting at home trying to figure out how to put my oxygen mask on, because I've got to do that before I can help anyone else. But when something you've done most of your adult career as your profession gets taken away from you, in the sense that we weren't allowed to be in public anymore. We couldn't be around people. You really look in and go, who am I without that? And who do I want to be? But I also found out who my fan base was and who supports me. A lot of live entertainers, we had to open virtual tip jars and do that sort of thing just to stay afloat during this time. And man, did my people show up. So if you're one of those people listening, whether it's from Stephanie Miller, the Daily Beans, or this radio show, I thank you. I know it's already been almost 4 years since that time, and my God, where has the time gone? But I thank you. And so during that time, a woman named Sarah, who works with Allison. Allison had a co-host for the Daily Beans, and there's something called The Good News. And if you listen to the Daily Beans, it's such a lovely part of the podcast where people write in, all of our listeners, with corrections, confessions, submissions, all of these wonderful stories about student loan forgiveness or just sharing shout-outs of their loved ones. And so they were looking for someone to read The Good News with Allison once a week, which was like a 15-minute gig. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I would love to do that. I'm not leaving the house, and I'm, doing Facebook Live comedy, watching someone's cat, and they're, walk across the screen for 45 minutes and watching people cut their children's hair and people not muting and, yelling at each other about dinner. And I'm like, okay, I'm in comedy hell right now, but I would love to do this. And so I did the Good News with Allison, and our energy and the synergy between the two of us worked so well that at that time, Allison's co-host, who is an actress, was getting more work when the world opened back up. And so she was there less and less. And Allison asked if I wanted to, read the Good News with her several times a week. And then that quickly turned into, do you want to be my co-host? And I absolutely did. The community that the Daily Beans is we're all sort of cut from that same cloth of supporting humanity and wanting the best for this country. And, we do run the gamut of, liberal to very progressive. And, I think there are even some conservatives that listen to the Daily Beans who believe in the goodness of this country and believe that people are equal, even if they have some conservative thoughts in some other places. And it's a community that has really, over the last 4 years, given me such a light and a love over my days. It's a part of my day where I know I'm going to connect with Allison. We are bringing the news to people. It's news with swearing. So, if you like a good F-bomb from, place to place, that's where you want to go. And we try and disseminate the news to make it palatable for you. Because right now it is tough. None of us are built. Our nervous systems were not wired to withstand 4 years of that guy, much less 8 years, of not just him, but the entire crew he is surrounding himself with. And so I implore people, please take care of your mental health. Take breaks. As Allison says, we've got the watch. She was in the Navy. She's a military girl, and we've got the watch. It's okay to put down the social media for a day and go outside and take a walk. And so, that's the way that Allison signs off the podcast every day is, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of your planet, take care of your mental health, and take care of your family. We have chosen family. And that's really what it is. So it's a lovely thing to listen to. So if you want to get news with swearing, and I definitely swear a lot because that's one of the places I can, it's a fantastic listen. We try and make you laugh. I have a really hard time pronouncing. See, right there, the English language at times, that gives people a good laugh. We bring you as much joy as we can.
Dana and I have had this conversation before about we both have severe potty mouths, and she's absolutely right about the Daily Beans. It gives one the ability to hear what's happening with an the unfiltered way of saying sometimes the words that just need to be said. My sister Linda oftentimes will say sometimes saying the F word is just what you got to say, and so that's one of the beautiful things of the Daily Beans. So, Dana, as we wrap up, it's been a joy to have this. We've been trying to do it for a while, and you've been busy, and just, life has done the thing that it does. But as we go forward as progressives, how do folks go forward? In your observation, what is it that, if you were to list a couple of things that I think everybody can do and believe and ascend to, what would those things be?
I think the biggest thing is actively call out lies when you hear them about whatever community it is. And if you can and you feel safe doing it publicly on social media, do it there. If you're having a family reunion and your Uncle Jim says something about the trannies, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to have a conversation with Uncle Jim and say, Uncle Jim, that's not the right word to use. And if you really want to learn something, I'm happy to tell you, but that's not true. And please understand why I threw that word out, just to make the example. Tell them it's the transgender community. Like, it's the little things of speaking up. If you hear someone berating someone in public, say something. If you hear someone telling a lie about a community, whether, a Muslim community, the Black community, the gay and lesbian community, the trans community, Palestinians, Jews, any of these people, if you hear something that's not true or someone is being hateful, speak up. As long as you feel safe, speak up. That's the first thing. The other thing I would say, learn coalitions, build a coalition in your community. A lot of the people, and I will say this, and I say this as a white woman, we've got to do better. I know a lot of white women after the election, they started wearing these blue bracelets, and there was a sign to show, I voted Democrat. I'm with the Black community. But if you're only wearing the bracelets and you're not talking to your Black women in your community, and you're not learning how to do a coalition, and you're not donating to these organizations that are fighting for these things, then it's just platitudes. It's just symbolic, but it's not action. Take action. You can do both. Wear your blue bracelet, but make sure that you are taking some action. So that would be the other thing. Find an organization that you want to donate to, that you believe in, and volunteer. It is going to feel so good to you to learn about these things and to make a difference. Go volunteer somewhere. So those are the things I would say for now. Also, and I mean this, take breaks, like I said, from social media. no matter what this guy says, and I'm talking about Trump, he is going to say the most outlandish things. J.D. Vance is going to say the most outlandish things. Many of them are going to be unconstitutional, illegal, and they're not going to come to fruition. But the point is they want you to be scared. They want you to be silent, and they want you to back down. That's how fascism wins. That's how autocracies are born. Do not do it. Try not to react to every single thing you hear, because that's what they want. Most of this is distraction from the things that they're doing behind the scenes, and they like outrage. So that would be my thing of really just take a deep breath, do a little research, try not to freak out. I know, trust me, I'm talking to myself as I say this to you as you're listening, because there are a lot of things that make me want to scream into the void and immediately respond on social media. And trust me, just for your heart and your blood pressure, stop arguing with strangers. They are paid to argue with you on Twitter, and I will always call it Twitter, because if he's going to dead name his trans child, I'm going to dead name that site. I will never call it X. It is Twitter, and hopefully a lot of you aren't even on there anymore, and you are on Blue Sky. It is a much more enjoyable place to be. I know some of the trolls are infiltrating, but most of us, the majority there, were able to build our communities and find our people. So definitely go to Blue Sky on all the social media platforms, Blue Sky, Instagram, and I'm still on Twitter, just sort of watching from afar.
Right.
My handle is DG Comedy. My initials DG Comedy, so you can find me there, and I would love to have you as part of the community. Let's support each other. We've got to support each other through this next 4 years. God willing, it's only 4. God willing, if we can do what we need to and we actually have a free and fair election, it's only going to be 2. Because we would like to get the Senate and the House back in the midterms. And I think a lot of people are going to realize the buyer's remorse, and they're going to realize they were lied to about tariffs, and they were lied to about the ACA, and they were lied to about, what's really happening with the trans community. And I think they're going to be out there voting. That's my hope, and I'm just hoping that we actually have a real election in the midterms and that we can get some semblance of balance back in this, in our government.
One of the first things that Dana said, guys, is to make sure that you call out, and I say this on my show pretty much every day, call out the BS real time if you feel safe in doing it. If you feel safe in doing it face-to-face, don't let people slide. And, sometimes you have to press pause before you do that. You may have to gather yourself and think about how you want to respond, but the thing that you cannot not do is you have to respond in some way or fashion and be safe about it, but we don't have the luxury any longer of just letting stuff slide on by. And the self-care, incredibly important, and I'm glad you leaned into that. Self-care is so important because it allows you to strengthen and go forward. And sometimes the self-care is, to Dana's point, turning off social media, turning off everything, backing away, catching your breath. At the end of my show, I always say, Dana, take a deep breath and make your life count. And that's where I think right now we all have an opportunity is to take that deep breath from the hard fight and then go back out again and fight harder, fight better, and work with the people that you know, and maybe reach out to the people that you don't know and help get them on board. Because I'm a big believer that there's a lot of people who have gone into their shell and they're just waiting for someone to reach their hand out to say, "We got you. Come on, join this train, and we're gonna get this thing back on track." So it does take all of us. One of the parts of my show is all of our players means all of our players, and you're one of them. And I so greatly appreciate you taking some time to be with me this morning to talk about your background, talk about the great work that you have done and will continue to do. And it's just been great having you on the show. Look forward to having you back again in the future. Does that sound okay?
Absolutely, Richard. Anytime you need me, I'm here. You are my family. You take care of yourself and all the people that you love, and I will do the same. And when I say that, that's our community. So thanks for having me on, and I look forward to being back.
Sounds good, Dana. Listen, have a great day. Stay safe. We got you, and we're sending you love and support to those of you that are in Southern California. So stay strong, and we look forward to nothing but good coming for you.
Thanks so much, Richard. Have a good one.